students, good day. Welcome to our Future Doctors NEET Academy Coaching Center. We all know biology is a very interesting subject comparing to other subjects. Biological diversity and its conservation. There is an enormous diversity of life on our planet Earth. More than 20,000 species of ants, 3 lakh species of beetles, 28,000 species of fishes, and nearly 20,000 species of orchids. What is biodiversity? Biodiversity or biological diversity is the occurrence of various types of ecosystem, different species of organisms with the whole range of their variants and genes adapted to different climates, environments along with their interactions and processes. Term biodiversity was coined by Walter G. Rosen in 1985. However, the term biodiversity was popularized by social biologist Edward Wilson in 1992. Biodiversity differs from place to place. It is so because environmental conditions of the area as well as the range of tolerance of the species determine whether or not a particular species can survive in that area. Biodiversity has 3 interrelated hierarchical levels.
Beautiful morning. Future Doctor NEET Coaching Academy. 360-degree Marks Biology Club. Every day morning, 7 a.m. Never miss the opportunity. It's for you. Subscribe.
So the 3 levels of biodiversity includes genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. Genetic diversity, it is a diversity in the number and types of genes and chromosomes within same species and variation in genes and their alleles within same species. Variations in the genes of a species increases with increase in size and environmental parameters of the habitat. Genetic diversity results in polymorph formation and is useful in adaptation to changes in environmental conditions. Example, 50,000 genetically different strains of rice and 1,000 varieties of mango present in India. Species diversity. Variety in number and richness of species of a region comprises species diversity. Number of species per unit area is called as species richness, and number of individuals of different species represent species evenness. It influences biotic interactions and stability of the community. Ecological diversity. Biodiversity on a wider scale includes variations in biological communities, the ecosystem of existing communities, and interactions among these levels. It is of 3 types: alpha, beta, and gamma diversity. In alpha diversity, species diversity within a community or habitat depends on species richness and evenness. In beta diversity, it is the diversity between communities due to replacement of species within change in the habitat. In gamma diversity, the ranges of communities due to diverse habitats or ecosystems over a total landscape or a geographical area. Magnitude of biodiversity. According to IUCN, that is International Union for Conservation of Nature, in 2002 said the total number of plant and animal species described so far is slightly more than 1.5 million. Considering that an overwhelming large proportion of the species waiting to be discovered are in the tropics, and biologists make a statistical comparison of the temperate tropical species richness of an exhaustively studied group of insects and extrapolate this ratio to other groups of animals and plants to come up with a gross estimate of the total number of species on Earth. Some extreme estimates range from 20 to 50 million, but more conservative and scientifically sound estimate made by Robert May places the global species diversity at about 7 million. More than 70% of all the species recorded are animals, while plants include algae, fungi, bryophytes, gymnosperms, and angiosperms comprise no more than 22% of the total. That means out of every 10 animals on these plants, 7 are insects. The number of fungi species in the world is more than the combined total of the species of fishes, amphibians, reptiles, and mammals. India has only 2.4% of the world's land area. India has only 2.4% of the world's land area. However, its share of the global species diversity is an impressive 8.1%. India is one of the 12 mega diversity countries of the world. India has been divided into 10 biogeographical regions. that is Trans-Himalayas, Himalayas, desert, semi-arid, Western Ghats, Deccan Peninsula, Ganga Plain, and the northeast, marine coast and Indian islands. Nearly 45% of species of plants and twice as many of animals have been recorded from India. It is estimated that there are probably more than 1 lakh plant species and more than 3 lakh animal species yet to be discovered and described. Endemic species are those species that are confined to particular region. Example, Western Ghats are rich in endemic amphibian species comparing to Eastern Ghats. Patterns of biodiversity. Biodiversity is not uniform throughout the world. It varies with the changes in latitude and altitude. For many groups of animals and plants, there are specific pattern diversity based on the favorable environmental conditions, as plants and animals are more diverse in areas which are best suited for their survival. Latitudinal gradients. The diversity of plants and animals is not uniform throughout the world, but shows a rather uneven distribution. For many group of animals or plants, there are interesting patterns in diversity, and the most well being the latitudinal gradient in diversity. In general, species diversity decreases as we move away from the equator towards the pole, with very few exceptions. Tropics, that is latitudinal range of 23.5 degree north to 23 degree 5 south, harbor more species than the temperate or polar areas. Colombia, located near the equator, has nearly 1400 species of birds, while New York at 41 degree north has 105 species, and Greenland at 71 degree north only has 56 species. India, with much of its land area in the tropical latitudes, has more than 1200 species of biodiversity. A forest in a tropical region has up to 10 times as many species of vascular plants as a forest of equal area in the temperate region like the Midwest of USA. The largely tropical Amazonian rainforest in South America has the greatest biodiversity on Earth. It is the home to more than 40,000 species of plants, 3,000 species of fishes, 1,300 of birds, 427 of mammals, 427 of amphibians, 378 of reptiles, and of more than 125,000 of invertebrates. Scientists estimate that in these rainforests, there might be at least 2 million insect species waiting to be discovered and named. Ecologists and evolutionary biologists have proposed various hypotheses for greater biodiversity in tropics. Some important ones are that speciation is generally a function of time. Unlike temperate regions subjected to frequent glaciations in the past, tropical latitudes have remained relatively undisturbed for millions of years and thus had a long evolutionary time for species diversification. Tropical environments, unlike temperate ones, are less seasonal, relatively more constant and predictable. Such constant environments promote niche specialization and lead to a greater species diversity. There is more solar energy available in the tropics, which contributes to higher productivity. This in turn might contribute indirectly to greater diversity. Reasons for rich biodiversity in tropics. The tropics have more stable climate comparing the temperate. Warm temperature and high humidity in the tropical areas provide favorable conditions. No single species can dominate, and thus there is an opportunity for many species to coexist. Among plants, rate of outcrossing appear to be higher in tropics. Species area relationship. German naturalist and geographer Alexander von Humboldt proposed that species richness increases with increasing area, but up to a certain limit only. The relationship between species richness and the area turned out to be a rectangular hyperbola for a wide variety of taxa. On a logarithmic scale, the relationship is a straight line described by the equation log S is equals to log C plus Z log A, where S is species richness, A is area, Z is slope of line, that is regression of coefficient, and C is y-intercept. The value of Z lies generally in the range of 0.1 to 0.2 irrespective of the taxonomic group or region, with the exception of large areas like continents where the value of Z is in range of 0.6 to 1.2. Importance of species diversity to ecosystem. The maintenance of biodiversity is very important because of ecological stability, productivity, and ecosystem health. In ecological stability, species diversity provides stability to the ecosystem. The more diverse an ecosystem, the better it can withstand the environmental stress. In ecosystem with high species diversity, alien species are unable to establish themselves and destruction of part of ecosystem does not degrade it. Productivity. Ecosystem with higher biodiversity are more productive than those with lower biodiversity. Ecosystem health. Biodiversity provides various checks, controls, negatives and positive feedback, critical links and keystone species. All the species are interlinked through various types of relationships. The rivet popper hypothesis. It was proposed by Stanford ecologist Paul Ehrlich as an analogy. In an aeroplane, which is considered as an ecosystem, all parts are joined together using thousands of rivets, that is species. If every passenger traveling in it starts popping a rivet, causing a species to become extinct, it may not affect the flight safety, that is the proper functioning of the ecosystem initially, but as more and more rivets are removed, the plane becomes dangerously weak over a period of time. Furthermore, which rivet is removed may also be critical. Loss of rivets on the wings, that is the species that drive major ecosystem functions, is obviously a more serious threat to flight safety than a loss of few rivets on the seats or windows or inside the plane. Loss of biodiversity. The biological wealth of our planet has been declining rapidly due to human activities. The colonization of tropical Pacific islands by humans is led to the extinction of more than 2000 species of native birth. The IUCN Red List in 2004 documents the extinction of 784 species including 338 vertebrates, 359 invertebrates and 87 plants in the last 500 years. Some examples of recent extinctions include the dodo, which is found in Mauritius, quagga, which is found in Africa, thylacine in Australia, Steller's sea cow in Russia, and 3 subspecies of tiger, that is Bali, Javan and Caspian. The last 20 years alone have witnessed the disappearance of 27 species. Careful analysis of record shows that extinctions across taxa are not random. Some group like amphibians appears to be more vulnerable to the extinction.
Beautiful morning. Future Doctor NEET Coaching Academy. 360-degree Marks Biology Club. Every day morning, 7 a.m. Never miss the opportunity. It's for you. Subscribe.
Adding to the grim scenario of extinction is the fact that more than 15,000 species worldwide are facing the threat of extinction. Presently, 12% of all bird species, 23% of all mammal species, 32% of all amphibian species, and 31% of all gymnosperm species in the world face the threat of extinction. During the long period since the origin and diversification of the life on Earth, there were 5 episodes of mass extinction of species. The current species extinction rates are estimated to be 100 to 1000 times faster than in the pre-human times, and our activities are responsible for the faster rates. Ecologists warn if the present trends continue and nearly half of all the species on the earth might be wiped out within the next 100 years. Causes for the loss of biodiversity. The increased rate of species extinction that the world is facing are largely due to human activities. There are 4 major causes. The first is the habitat loss and fragmentation, overexploitation, alien species invasion and co-extinction. Habitat loss and fragmentation. The main cause driving animals and plants to extinction is the destruction of natural habitats by filling wetlands, plowing grasslands, deforestation and construction work for the development like dams, reservoirs, etc. Destruction of habitat is a serious threat to the wildlife because it reduces the hiding place of animals. Loss of habitat results in annihilation of species of endemic plants, microorganisms and forcing out of animals which in alien lands die after some time. It increases their chances of predation. Fragmentation of habitats, example forest land surrounded by croplands, orchards, plantations and urban area, results in disruption of complex interactions among a species, destruction of species in the cleared regions, annihilation of species restricted to deeper undisturbed parts of forests, and decreased biodiversity in the habitat fragments. Animals requiring large territories are badly affected. Migrating animals would go astray and get killed. The tropical rainforest, which covered 14% of the Earth's land surface, now cover only 6%. The Amazon rainforest, harboring probably millions of species, is being cut and cleared for cultivation of soybeans and developing grasslands for raising beef cattle. Overexploitation. Excessive exploitation of a species, whether a plant or animal, reduces the size of its population so that it becomes vulnerable to extinction. Dodo, passenger pigeon, three subspecies of tiger, and Steller's cow have become extinct in the last 500 years due to overexploitation by humans. Many marine fishes are declining around the world because of being over-harvested. Some commercially important species are likely to become endangered. Alien species invasion. Non-native or alien species are often introduced inadvertently for their economic and other uses. They often become invasive and drive away the local species. These species are considered to be second major cause of extinction of species. Exotic species have proved harmful to both aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems. Island ecosystems are the most vulnerable due to small size and small number of species. Water hyacinth, which was introduced in Indian waters to reduce the pollution, has clogged water bodies including wetlands at many places, resulting in death of several aquatic plants and animals. In tropical countries, the water hyacinth is a nuisance weed in many eutrophic lakes and rivers, as it does not allow other plants to grow and multiply properly. And there is also another example, neelpreach, a predator fish which was introduced in Lake Victoria of South Africa, killed and eliminated ecologically unique assemblage of over 200 native species of small chichil fish. Lantana camera, which was introduced as an ornamental plant, has replaced many species in forests of UP and MP. Forest of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. Eupatorium odatum has reduced the population of Tectona grandis in northeast. Parthenium hysterophis has pushed out several herbs and shrubs from open places in the plains. African catfish has been illegally introduced for aquaculture in India. It is threatening to native catfishes of Indian rivers. Periplanta americana has replaced by Blatta orientalis at many places. Co-extension. Certain obligatory mutualistic relationships exist in nature. Example, Pronuba eucaceus and Yucca. Extinction of one will automatically cause extinction of the other. If the host fish becomes extinct, all the parasites exclusively found on it will also become extinct. Disturbance and degradation. Natural disturbances and degradation are caused by spontaneous jungle fire, tree fall, pest, infestation, and defoliation by insects or locust attack. Man-made disturbances and degradation are more severe. They include cutting of trees, use of fire for clearing, collection of litter, and overexploitation of other economically important products. Pollution. Excessive use of pesticides has polluted both the groundwater and surface water bodies, which results in biomagnification, leading to increase in pesticide concentration with rise in trophic levels. It has resulted in drastic decline in the population of fish-eating birds and falcons. Lead and other types of heavy metals poured into water bodies lead to mortality of many animals consuming that water. Air pollutants cause death of sensitive plants. Radiations are also harmful to both plants and animals. Spillover of oil in the sea leads to the death of several marine algae, fishes, and seabirds. Pollution, therefore, reduces species biodiversity.
Beautiful morning. Future Doctor NEET Coaching Academy. 360-degree Marks Biology Club. Every day morning, 7 a.m. Never miss the opportunity. It's for you. Subscribe.
Biodiversity conservation. The reason for the biodiversity conservation include the red list categories which was given by the IUCN include extinct. The taxon has been completely eliminated or died out from the earth. Example, dodo. Critically endangered. The taxon has been completely eliminated or died from the earth. Critically endangered. The taxon is facing very high risk of extinction in the wild and can become extinct any moment in the immediate future. Example, pygmy hog, vulnerable. Presently, the population is sufficient but is undergoing depletion due to some factors or factors so that it is facing risk of extinction in medium-term future. Example, clouded leopard, extinct in wild. The taxon is absent in any of its natural or expected habitats in the wild. Endangered. It is facing a high risk of extinction in the wild in the near future due to decrease in its habitat, excessive predation or poaching. Example, lion-tailed macaw, lower risk. They are threatened species which have lower risk of extinction and therefore require only small attention to become a normal flourishing species. Data deficient. The data for making direct or indirect assessment of risk in extinction is deficient. The rare species. They are species with naturally small populations, either localized or thinly scattered, which are always at risk from the pests, pathogens, predators, and exotic species. Not evaluated. The taxon has not been evaluated for risk of extinction. Indeterminate species. The species are in danger of extinction, but the reason is unknown. So, for conserve all these categories, biodiversity conservation has been brought. Conservation of biodiversity is the protection, upliftment, and scientific management of biodiversity so as to maintain as its threshold level and derive sustainable benefits for the present and future generations.
Beautiful morning. Future Doctor NEET Coaching Academy. 360-degree Marks Biology Club. Every day morning, 7 a.m. Never miss the opportunity. It's for you. Subscribe.
There are some reasons to conserve the biological diversity, which can be grouped in three categories. The first one is the narrowly utilitarian. These arguments for conserving biodiversity are obvious. Humans derive countless direct economic benefits from nature like food, firewood, fiber, construction material, industrial products, and products of medicinal importance. More than 25% of the drugs currently sold in the market worldwide are derived from plants, and 25,000 species of plants contribute to the traditional medicines used by native peoples around the world. With increasing resources put into bioprospecting, that is, exploring molecular, genetic, and species level diversity for products of economic importance, nations endowed with rich biodiversity can expect to reap enormous benefits. And the second is broadly utilitarian. This argument says that biodiversity plays a major role in many ecosystem services that nature provides. The fast-willing Amazon forest is estimated to produce, through photosynthesis, 20% of the total oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere. Pollination, without which plants cannot give us fruits or seeds, is another service ecosystem provides through pollinators layer, that is, bees, bumblebees, birds, and bats. There are other intangible benefits derived from nature. The aesthetic pleasure of walking through thick woods, watching spring flowers in full bloom, or waking up to bulbul song in the morning. And the last is the ethical argument. This argument is for conserving biodiversity relates to what we owe to millions of plant, animal, and micro species with whom we share this planet. Philosophically or spiritually, we need to realize that every species has an intrinsic value, even it may not be of current or any economic value to us. The purpose of preparation of a red list is to provide awareness to the degree of threat to biodiversity, provide global index about already declined biodiversity, identify and document the number of species facing high risk of extinction, prepare conservation priorities and help in conservation action, provide information about international agreement like Conservation on Biological Diversities and Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora.
Beautiful morning. Future Doctor NEET Coaching Academy. 360-degree Marks Biology Club. Every day morning, 7 a.m. Never miss the opportunity. It's for you. Subscribe.
Approaches to conserve the biodiversity. That is divided into two. The first is in situ and ex situ. In situ means conservation in natural habitat. Ex situ means conservation outside natural habitat. In situ is divided into biodiversity hotspots and protected areas. And the protected areas include biosphere reserves, national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and sacred groves. Whereas in ex situ conservation, it is of protection of gametes and protection of threatened species. And protection of gametes include gene bank, seed bank, tissue culture. But whereas in this protection of threatened species include botanical garden, zoological parks, and wildlife safari. Biodiversity hotspots. This is an approach for an in situ method of conservation. Hotspots are regions rich in biodiversity but are declared sensitive due to direct or indirect human interference. Biodiversity hotspots were originally identified by Norman Myers. Hotspots are determined by four factors: number of species or species diversity, degree of endemism, degree of threat to habitat, and degree of exploitation. Total number of hotspots all over the world are 34. India has 3 hotspots, which includes Indo-Burma region, Himalayas, and Western Ghats, Sri Lanka. And the next is protected areas. Protected areas are specially dedicated to the protection and maintenance of biological diversity and of natural and associated cultural resources maintained and managed through legal or other effective measures. National park, maintained by government and reserved for the betterment of the wildlife. Various activities like cultivation, grazing, forestry, habitat manipulation are prohibited. At present, there are more than 100 national parks in India. Example, Kaziranga National Park in Assam and Bandipur National Park in Karnataka. Biosphere reserves, multi-purpose protected areas, initiated by UNESCO under MAB program. Biosphere reserves have 3 zones: core or natural zone, that is undisturbed and legally protected area where no human activity is allowed; buffer zone, limited human activity like research, education, and resource utilizations are allowed. The last zone is the transition zones, outermost region where human activity like recreation, cropping, forestry are allowed. Sanctuaries, tracts of land for conservation of fauna, grazing, cultivation, harvesting of forest products, and private ownership is permitted. More than 500 sanctuaries are present in India with 3.6% geographical area. Example, Malabar Wildlife Sanctuary in Kerala, Karakoram Wildlife Sanctuary in Jammu and Kashmir. India has also a history of religious and cultural tradition that emphasize the protection of nature. In many cultures, tracts of forest were set aside and all the trees and wildlife within were venerated and given total protection. Such sacred groves help in flourishing of many endemic species which are rare. Sacred groves are found in Khasi and Janitia Hills in Meghalaya, and then Aravali Hills of Rajasthan, Western Ghat regions of Karnataka and Maharashtra, and the Sarajua, Chanda and Bastar areas of Madhya Pradesh. In Meghalaya, the sacred groves are the last refuges for the large number of rare and threatened plants. Bishnois of Rajasthan protect Prosopis cinerea and the black buck religiously. Some water bodies are also held sacred in certain places. Example, Kichiyopalri Lake in Sikhism. And the next is the ex situ conservation. It is the conservation of endangered species of plants and animals in places apart from their natural habitat. It includes off-site collection and gene bank, which are the source of genetic materials for breeders and genetic engineers. Gene banks maintain stock of viable seeds, live plants, tissue culture, and frozen germplasm with widest range of genetic variability. Seed banks. Seeds can tolerate reduced moisture content and aerobic conditions and low temperature. Examples, cereals, legumes, etc. But some seeds cannot tolerate reduced moisture and low temperature. So these seeds can only be stored for shorter duration after treatment with fungicide and in humid air and normal oxygen. Example, coca, jackfruit, coconut, etc. Tissue culture. Technique used for plants with variable seeds, progeny, seedless variety, or where clone is to be maintained. Callus formation, embryos, pollen grain culture, and the shoot tip culture are used for growing such plants. Maintains large number of genotypes in small area, rapid multiplication of endangered species, and hybrid rescue. Example, banana, potato, etc. International efforts for conserving biodiversity. Earth Summit at Rio de Janeiro in 1992 in Brazil promoted Convention on Biological Diversity, which was signed by 152 nations. Its recommendations came into effect on 29th December 1993. India became a party to this convention on biological diversities in May 1994. Agenda 21, a product of Earth Summit, is a blueprint for promoting sustainable development of diversity through social, economic, and environmental measures in the 20th century. A second World Summit was held in 2002 in Johannesburg, South Africa. 190 countries attending the summit pledged to significantly reduce the current rate of biodiversity loss at global, regional, and local levels by 2010. Biodiversity conservation in India. India has a diverse variety of species of animals and plants. Because of the abundant diversity present in the country, its conservation is very important not only for the country but also for the rest of the world. Both in situ and ex situ conservation measures are being undertaken. In situ conservation is being conducted by Ministry of Environment and Forest. Joint forest management is practiced in 10.25 million acres of degraded forest through 36,075 village forest protection committees. It is useful to local and tribal people as they become partner in non-wood forest products. Land races, different types of foods and medicinal plants are being conserved by tribal people, women and some government agencies. Major ex situ conservation of biodiversity is being managed by National Bureau of Plant, Animal and Fish Genetic Resources. There is an International Crop Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics in Hyderabad for conserving germplasm of groundnut, pigeon pea, chickpea, pearl millet and sorghum. A number of other centers in India are maintaining hundreds and thousands of present and past varieties of crop plants.
Beautiful morning. Future Doctor NEET Coaching Academy. 360-degree Marks Biology Club. Every day morning, 7 a.m. Never miss the opportunity. It's for you. Subscribe.